That dog's stuck at it. Where do you go get those smackers? Huh? Pretty sure they're over there. Like the missing. Alrighty guys, I think we're live. So today it's Jimmy and the Barkin show for a little while. Hopefully it's like at the smackos, and then it's going to be Gary's half an hour of power.
I'm on time.
Ah, he's here. Here we go. No stream stopping today. Straight into it. All right, I'll let Gary's talk to you. I'll go find these smackos and try and shut this dog up.
Oh yeah.
All right, here we go.
Hi guys, how you going? I got a few things written down. I've got my list. I was watching the video the other night that Greg and Jimmy did, and Greg on his shoot process. Man, how good was that? It brought a bit of a tear to my eye. I realised that in all these years of coaching Greg, he's actually been listening to me. And as big and loud and as opinionated as what Greg is, he does listen very, very well when I'm coaching him. Now, what I wanted to do, when Greg's touched on a few things in the shot process, and he did a brilliant job of doing it, what I want to touch on is just a few little things to put a little bit more on some of the parts he mentioned. One thing in particular, one of the viewers raised a question in regard to sighting as far as the dot and looking at the target. Now, what I wanted to do is explain how I like to coach and how I like people to sight and what I think is the right way to do it. Everybody has their different ways, but I think this way it seems to help. When Greg was talking about the shot process, when you address the target and you're looking at the centre of the target, that's dead right. That's the only thing you should be looking at, is the centre of the target. Now, when you go through the process and set yourself up and you're sighting, keep looking at the centre of the target. What you want to do is be focused on the centre of the target and have the dot or your sighting point interfere with your vision to the centre of the target. Now, the difference with that is what you're doing, you're looking at a stationary object that's not moving and trying to get the dot to float up and interfere with your vision to the centre of the target. If you do it the other way, if you're looking at the dot, trying to put the dot onto the centre of the target, then you get the whole floating thing happening because you're physically trying to push that dot up onto the target. It's very important. Your focal point is the centre of the target. That's the point you're looking at. That's your objective. And just get the sight, your sighting point to float. Don't push it. Just let it float. Let it happen. Let it float up and put to interfere with your sight to the centre of the target. I hope you understand what I mean by that. And there is a big difference in doing it that way than trying to put the dot on centre. And then when you get to a point, and you more experienced guys will know this, if the dot's floating and it's not happening for you, the shot's gone. You've got to let down. And that's easy to say, but I know how letting down is so hard to do. Scott Buscombe said that to me one night. We were discussing shooting techniques and sighting and all that. And he's dead right. As soon as the shot's gone, it's gone. The harder you try, the more you move, and you end up doing drive-bys and making a mess. The other night we did an indoor comp, and twice I actually it wasn't working, the shot was gone. I actually made myself let down and I did it. And the next two times I drew up, the dot just sat there. I couldn't believe it. I've gone from floating all over the place, let down, and it came up and it just sat there. And that reinforces how that actually works. Yeah, Paul Howe, yeah, your subconscious, it does take over. Your subconscious plays such a massive role in the technique. It can come down from your stance being wrong or your shoes or something. The body is recognising something, but you're not physically feeling it. So that's just one little thing that I wanted to touch on that Greg mentioned. And how about how many likes he got on that, eh?
We got a few likes.
Wow.
Come on,
nearly
show
100.
Gary some love and give us at least 20. There should be 20 of us.
The competition's on, I tell you. The last one we did here, I think I got 58 or something, and Greg's got nearly 100. I couldn't believe it. It was great. And then,
just so you know too, Gary, the thing comes up this side, so if you put yourself behind the words, you'll be in the clear.
All right, no worries. Well, another thing I wanted to talk about, even with Greg's 96 likes or something, I think it was 96 last night when I checked it, you still got your one dislike. But the funny thing is, it makes him look even more stupid. You've got 100 people like it and one dislike. But what I did notice, there was always 2 dislikes, so he hasn't even got the one friend he had anymore. Anyway, we won't talk to you more about that.
Loving the dislike. So what else you got, Gary?
What else have I got? That was the first thing I wanted to touch on with Greg. And again with Greg, we are going to that next level this year. He's got that in him. I've got more little things to show him. We've got X10s coming. We're changing his rest. He had an overdraw. I don't like overdraws, never have. We're going back to the shorter rest. So I'm not going to do anything with arrows until we get that rest on so we can get it right. And yeah, so the next level with Greg, we've got to structure his training a bit more so that we train up to QREs or events. Not so much do so much shooting, but do the more quality shooting. Greg has got probably an advantage, I'd call it, over a lot of people that shoot, trying to shoot to Greg's level. Greg doesn't think anything about his bow. All he has to worry about is shooting. He doesn't get involved in problems with the bow. He doesn't think about problems with the bow. If he's shooting or practicing or whatever and he's going left or right or high, he acknowledges it's him. Nothing to do with his bow. He leaves the bow set up completely to me, so he's got one less thing to worry about. All of us normal archers, we're shooting going, oh damn, is my centre shot out, is this out? Greg doesn't think about that. He doesn't know anything, he knows about it, but he leaves it to me. He trusts me 100% with setting his bow up. So he just doesn't think about that. He just works on his technique.
That's a tough thing to do too, isn't it?
It's very hard to do
when
that.
You're a fiddler like me, I love
absolutely,
fiddling. You're halfway through a shot, you think, oh, well, I just changed my rest time.
Yeah, so it is, and he just blocks that out. He's fascinating, the way he deals with the pressure and that. It's amazing. He's one of the very few people that I've seen and worked with that the pressure doesn't affect him. It's incredible. It's amazing.
It doesn't, doesn't it?
And you guys out there too, just sort of to go off on another tangent a little bit in regards to coaching. If you want to get to your best, you really do need to be coached in some way, shape or form. Even, I believe anybody at top level needs a coach. But having said that, your coach has really got to know what he's doing too. That's a big thing. I've always looked at coaching as it's all about credibility to me. Like I came from a reasonable ability. 20 years ago I was shooting 100 rating, which was as high as you could get 20 years ago. They revamped it because people were going and shooting unbelievable scores. I think it's up to 120 or something now.
160, I think.
Oh, really? Anyway, the point I'm making is that it comes down to a bit of credibility. If you've got somebody helping you, I like to think if somebody's trying to coach me or help me, they can do what they're telling you. I always had a rule years ago, and all the people I've coached, I'd always shoot their bow. I would set their bows up and I would always shoot their bow and see, there you go, that's what your bow can do. And that gave them the confidence that I knew what I was telling them was correct. But with Greg, unfortunately, I can't shoot Greg's bow. And I don't need to because I'd type you out here. but I don't need to because Greg shoots at a level that I never ever dreamed I'd ever be able to shoot at. So Greg, we don't have to worry about that. So that's just something I wanted to mention on coaching. But look, on the other side of the coin too, people that are good coaches in sports aren't always necessarily good at the sport. The one that comes to mind was when Alan Jones was coaching the Australian rugby team, and I don't know that Alan Jones ever played a game of rugby in his life, but he had a lot of success coaching the rugby team but he's a motivator, he's a speaker, and he obviously knew the plays. So look, it's not a rule of thumb, but it always gives you confidence in what somebody is telling you. If they can do it, they've done it, they've been there and done it, it always gives you that confidence. So that's the only sort of bit of advice I'd have for you. And again, back on, wow, what's all that?
Someone's happy.
Someone's happy. Back on Greg's explanation, it was great. Geez, you done a great job on that. I just hope it didn't bamboozle some of the less experienced guys, because it was quite deep. It was very good.
It was a good one.
It was a good one.
Now we've got a question.
Yeah.
Should we worry about aiming or execution?
Aiming or execution.
So, love it when you guys, I am in outright battle with target panic at the moment. Am I better off focusing on aiming or execution?
Execution, well, look, they're both important in their own right, don't get me wrong. But if you have a bad sight or a bad bad aiming shot, but your execution's 100%, your result's not as bad as it could have been. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I'll tell you an example. I see so many people, if they're releasing off centre, they don't go through their proper shot process. They'll release and they'll drop their bow arm, or they'll go, ah, damn, this type of thing. If it's a bad sider or a good sider, you've got to maintain that shot process. You've got to keep that follow through happening, because if you have a bad sider and you release off centre and you know you've done it, as soon as you drop that bow arm or throw it out, well, you've made it worse than it could have been or should have been. It's got a lot to do with your bow as well, that your modern bows sometimes are a bit less forgiving as well in regards to that. Your older style bows, this is something I wanted to mention to some of you new archers. If you're looking at buying a bow, man, don't go out and buy the top of the line fandangle bow, because if your technique's not there, you're gonna maybe make it harder for yourself. You know what I mean? It's like a learner when they get their L plates, go and chuck them in a Ferrari. You know, you can't do it.
That's right.
It's always...
A good driver can drive a Ferrari fast, but someone who can't drive, it's most likely is going to crash it.
I see so many guys, they'd rock up, they buy the latest big reflex riser bows, short axle to axles, and I just go, oh man, you know, sometimes it can sort of upset you because you can't shoot it. Like, a lot of people look at guys like Greg and Jimmy and go, well, if I buy that, I'm going to shoot like that. Well, nah, it doesn't work that way, you know. Sometimes you can make it a bit harder for yourself. Anyway, that's covered that bit. I've just, talking about Greg, target, nationals. Now, as most of you probably know, I spent a week in Victoria as team manager. Man, it was a great time. I don't want to bore the hell out of anybody, but just let me know if you'd like to hear a bit more about it, a bit what we did and what I got up to and all that, because it was a great time. If you're uninterested, that's fine, I understand that. But I don't want to bore you with it, so let me know if you want to hear a bit about it.
I definitely want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Everyone will love
well, I might just do a specific video on that, just a sit-down one, because it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. It's good. Yeah.
And Samuel White just hit 900 subs. Congrats, Sam. So make sure you check out Sam White's channel. He does some great bow reviews. Gary's a big fan of Sam.
Yeah, well. Is he on, is he?
Yeah, he's
good. Great to catch up with you, mate. I've watched a couple of it. Man, he knows his stuff for a young fella, isn't he?
He does, doesn't he?
It's really good stuff, yeah.
Justin
Absolutely.
and Thunder Healer, how are you going? You. Right, you're all done, are you, Gary?
No, I'm still going.
Oh, you've still got a few things going?
I've just got to look at my notes. Yeah. Oh, that's what I wanted to tell you about. I mentioned it to Jimmy. I've got a 30-metre range over the road from my place in the bush, and I was shooting yesterday, and I was having a horrible time. I was all left and floating around, and I couldn't work out what the hell was going on. So I went down to 15 metres, did the whole eyes closed thing, which is a great tool if you're having a bad day, even if you just do finish with that and walk away, because all you guys know by now, you have good days, you have bad days. You just got to not let the bad days really affect you. You got to acknowledge that we all have them. You all have the bad days where the dot just won't sit there, you don't feel right. And the best thing I found is go down 10, 15, whatever, and do what Greg explained in regard to the shot process. Go through your shot process, close the eyes and bring it all back here. Anyway, I did that, and I couldn't work out why I was shooting left. I've learnt, and I hope you guys have learnt, you don't start playing with your bow, because it's guarantee it's what you're doing. If you've been shooting right the day before, it's something you'll do. Anyway, when I went back and started doing the closed eyes, I realised that I've been bringing this string back to the side of my nose instead of the tip of my nose. And I think that's because of the beard, because I used to be able to feel the string on the corner of my mouth and the tip of my nose, and because now I've got the fur, I couldn't feel it. So what was happening, I was actually anchoring and bringing the string back to the side of my nose. And now what this does, I spoke about before, about one little thing compounding and creating other problems. What was happening, because I was bringing the string back further, firstly I've had a bigger bend in my bow arm because the bow's coming back further, and my anchor position is not where it normally is, it's back a bit further. So there's two problems that compounded. Anyway, I realised what I was doing. I went back to, I was only shooting 30 metres. Yeah, have a shave. It won't be too far, buddy. It's annoying the hell out of me. Yeah, I went back to 30 metres, and what I'm going to show you, hopefully you might be able to see it. I shot 3 groups. That was one of them. Ooh.
Put it right up
Put it close. Is that going to...
There you go, other side.
Other side?
Yeah, it's twisted a little bit. I like the angle, so it doesn't...
Oh, the light.
There you go.
There we go. That was a 30-metre group I shot after I realised what I was doing wrong.
That's tight, that's all in the 10.
Man, I couldn't believe it. And the big thing too, when I went back to where I was anchoring correctly on the nose, the dot just sat there as well. It was floating everywhere. Yeah, that's just something I want to let you know.
That's a big thing about the float, you reckon, is getting everything right. When
yeah, that's right.
Goes out a bit, your float goes out, you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly with that line of force I was talking about the other day. If you're not quite got your stance right and you're a little bit open, or your shoulders are a bit out and your shoulders not down and forward, you come back to using muscular strength to hold instead of that line of force strength as well. So that's
So as soon as you start using muscle, then you start to get fatigued. And then
as soon as you start using muscle, you fatigue and you shake. Absolutely, no question. Yep. So that was another little thing I wanted to mention.
So what caused it? Was it the bow arm, or what caused it? The beard?
Well, I think what it
caused it.
Well, the beard. Well, the beard. I was like I had it full draw and stop.
Yeah.
But my bow arm was relaxing more, so I had a bigger bend in my bow arm, and my head position was wrong. Because I had the string on the side of my nose, my head was further around than what it would normally be with on the tip of my nose.
So of course the beard was there, you're bending the arm a little bit.
Well, because the beard was there, I couldn't feel the
really
string.
dig it into your face.
Yeah, I couldn't feel the string on my normal reference point, so I was actually back too far, so it put my anchor back further, which brought my elbow round further, so it just compensated, it compounded every other little thing. But at the end of the day, when I went back and realised it, I couldn't believe it. It was great.
Well, we got a question before asking, what can you do, what can people do to make their float better? That seems to be a major question, and that was just it, the form.
The form,
I think if you get your form good and you can just get everything right, like a good draw length, I think the perfect draw length.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that. Look, sometimes when we do these videos, guys, I'll go back and re-watch them and see if I made a big dick of myself. That's the first thing I do. See if I said anything stupid or got it right. But I pick up questions on the thing that I missed when we're doing it, because you sort of you get in the groove and you sort of talking, and sometimes we miss stuff, but that's why I'll come back and I'll refer back to it and sort of clear some things up. People ask questions and we miss it. We're not doing it on purpose. We just miss it, and I'll refer back to it, like that earlier thing with the dot, and like sighting at the target, looking through and getting the dot to interfere with your sight to the target. That's a big one, that one. That's very
a few
important.
big people are saying, would you rather a blurry dot or a blurry target? Because normally you can't get both.
You can't, and as you get older, I've had this drama with using clarifiers in me peep. Verifiers, not a clarifier. The verifier clears the dot up, but unfortunately it makes the sight a bit blurry. Personally, I'd rather have a blurry gold circle and a sharp dot than a sharp target and a blurry dot. That's personally, every guy's different, but I prefer to have the sharper dot, definitely, and a blurry target.
I think the same thing for target, but I think it's opposite for 3D. I think it helps to be able to...
Yeah, the 3D, you've got to be able to see those sighting rings on them, haven't you?
You do, or even just the shape, like the colours and the shape patterns and stuff like that for getting in the right zone, getting the right scoring zone. What's this one?
Somebody's had a great result from watching Greg's video. That's good. That's what we're here for, guys. We're here to help everybody as much as we can.
That is awesome.
Like, not everybody's going to agree with what we say, but that's the beauty of the sport. You got to take on board and use whatever works for you. Yeah, compound wannabe. Prefer a blurry image. You mean the target, do you, mate?
Yep.
Yeah, I think a blurry target's better, and have a focused or a absolute dot.
I think it takes a bit of the pressure off it too when you don't see the lines on the target, when you just see the yellow.
Absolutely.
And you can kind of put in the centre of the yellow rather than going, oh, I'm on the 10 line or I'm on the X line. Oh, just put in the centre of the yellow and you're good to go.
Yeah. Another thing too, I think a bit on sighting in regards to magnification. I think you can see too much gold too if you got a heavy magnification. I don't think too much gold's a good thing.
I noticed that as well too.
Yeah.
When I went, because I used to use the 6 times magnification. When I went back to the 4 now that I shoot, I decided to go back to the 6 and give it a go a month or two ago and struggled big time. Couldn't handle the extra sight.
Yeah, too much is too much is not a good thing.
But
again, that's a personal thing. And the thing is, when I'm with me particularly using the verifier, the stronger this lens you put in, the blurrier your target becomes. So I've always just shot with a 4 times. So that's all I do.
I like the 4 times too now. I think any more than that. What's most of the pros use about a 4.
Yeah. What's Chris? I find that my stabiliser weight plays big in the float of my pin. Absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so it is a big trial and error. Everybody says you've got to try and pick one thing, but when you're a beginner and you don't know, just keep trying, keep practicing different things. Put your back out, put the back stabiliser right out, put it right in, put it up, put it down, put it front, and see which one feels better for you. That's the best way to get in.
But what you've got to factor in too, you have good days and bad days every time, and you could go out with your perfect bow setup and not shoot well, and have it wrong the next day and you shoot better, but that could be the way you were shooting on the day. Like,
that's true, it's such a hard thing.
There's so many. But the important, like, I'm changing stuff still, but you've got to change one thing at a time. Don't make 6 changes like old mate Jimmy used to do. Like, it's okay to change. You've got to experiment, because a lot of the times if you know a bit about what you're doing, you can come up with a better option. But just do one thing at a time. It's like moving my race car. It's no good going out changing sway bar settings and damping them with shocks and changing this and changing that. You just got to make one change at a time. You've got to identify whether it worked or not, go back to what you were doing, and then go another direction. And that's the best advice I could give for that. But don't be scared to try different things, for sure. But again, back to that stabiliser, I've discovered that myself lately. I've been playing with weights and balances, and like I said the other day, I've got my bow sitting pretty good now. I've ordered more weights, by the way. So I want to put a bit more on the back and a little bit more on the front, just to give me more load. But yeah, the balance of your bow, the weight of your bow definitely helps with the float too. But that's to be within reason. You don't want the thing, you can't hold it up.
That's a great idea. We got an idea from Paul there, reviewing some pros and telling the people at home what the pros are doing. You know what I mean? Talking through some pros shots and stuff like that and seeing what they're doing. That's a great idea. We'll do that, Paul.
Oh yeah, that just brings to mind Rio Wild. Man, how do you criticise a guy that shoots like that for the way he shoots?
Well, that's it. You can tell the people. You can't. Yeah, well, you can tell them what they're doing though. You can say, well, this is standard. Yeah. We can put up a video and go, this is standard. This is Rio Wild. It's working for him. Go try it. You know what I mean? It's up to you.
Samuel White says we're stealing his video ideas. Mate, you'll have to come over and we'll do one together. There you go.
Yeah, we'll come to Australia. And we got another good question. What's the perfect bend, Gary? How straight should you have your arms? Should you have it dead straight or dead?
Again, this is a personal thing. I don't believe in the stiff bow arm. I never have. I think you've got to have. I sort of got the shoulder in, and I've just got a little bit of a relaxed bend in it, about there. That's about the difference. The reason I do that is because when you release that pressure, if the bow arm jumps, okay, that's probably my bow arm position there. I've just got that little bit there because I like when I release, I like my arm to maybe able to go forward a bit. But the problem with it being stiff, when you release, there's nowhere for it to go except that way. Again, that's a personal thing. I've seen a lot of guys shoot with stiff bow arms and it works for them. I've seen guys explode and it works for them. Well, if it works, it works. It just, to me, it just, I don't know, sometimes I think you're making it harder than you have to. You need to make the technique as comfortable, as smooth and relaxed as you possibly can. I'm a true believer in that. Again, down at the Nationals, I was watching Brian Politis and Dennis Carson. They're two the top archers in Australia. They're veteran. I think they're both veterans now. But their techniques are just beautiful. You've seen Brian.
Same thing every
time. They are
just... You could videotape 10 shots and put them all next to it, like overlay them, and they'd probably be identical.
Yeah,
get everything just down perfect.
They're just beautiful to watch. It's just so controlled. It's so smooth. They're so comfortable. It was one of the highlights of me down there watching those two guys shoot. It was terrific. Yeah.
What's this?
Give advice. Big pain in my bow hand elbow. TRX. Okay.
your elbow, you might be overextending your elbow. Make sure you're not overextending your elbow, because if you're pushing into it while it's overextending, that can give you a sore elbow.
And then how much poundage you're pulling too. Again, the poundage, if you are what Jimmy says, if you've got your elbow stiff and you're pulling a lot of poundage, you're putting the load back into that. Be careful when you do, if you stiffen that elbow out. It's not so bad with us fellas, but the younger guys and the girls, their elbows sort of hyperextend, they fold back in.
Yeah, well, mine does.
Yours do a bit from your jiu-jitsu. So if you've got a stiff bow arm like that, straight away you're loading it further that way than if you like that with the compression on it. So just look at that. It's a little bit hard to analyse with things without sort of real.
That's what you can do too. If you've got a question, post the picture on Facebook.
Yeah.
So, not on Facebook, on Discord. Gary's always checking Discord, so get a picture on Discord and show how bent your arm. It says this, this, this. Which one would you rather go? And put up a picture of you shooting. If you want like some really good tips, because it's hard to say when you don't see your bow arm. But
oh, hang on. Well, Gavin's saying he shot recurve mainly. Maybe shooting the recurve is the source of the elbow problem.
Oh yeah, but still, you still shouldn't have a stiff arm with the elbow anyway. You shouldn't have either type of archery, I don't think.
Yeah.
Compound Wannabe says we tune our bow for forgiveness to our weaknesses. Well, that's true there.
Yeah, we do. You've got to set it up to suit yourself and your weaknesses. Like I coached a young girl for many years. I mentioned it before. She had a shoulder problem and knee problems. So I had not so much modify a technique, but I had to be aware of that when she was shooting. Like she rolled the shoulder in a fair bit, but what she did to compensate for that, part of the technique that's been forgotten these days is the lean onto the ball of your feet. The recurvers do it big time. Well, Catherine, when she was shooting, she actually looked like she was leaning into a wind. The angle, the body angle she got was amazing, and that was a little bit to compensate for the lack of shoulder roll because of the shoulder injury. So we all have physical issues that you have to factor in when you're shooting. It doesn't mean it's going to affect how well you can shoot, as long as if you have a problem and you're making compensation for it, as long as you do it the same every time, it can work.
And sometimes if you're getting real bad pain, sometimes you can get your finger, and if you dig it in here and you can feel like little tendons going do, and they're really pain in there, that's where like the pains come from. I might be in this side in here. There's two tendons that run down in here and run down in here, and sometimes you just need to massage them like really painfully. Like when you feel it, you go ah. You just got to keep going and going and going, and then after doing that for like 2 days, your elbow will come back to normal. Sometimes your elbows are they don't heal very good, so you got to like make the injury again. So when like if you got like a bit of tennis elbow or something in here, you got to rub it again so your brain realizes it's injured, and then it'll fix itself too. Because I had that elbow for a while too. For every time I shot, I'd get a sore elbow in here, and I just had to massage it out, and then it went away. That's how I got
You can have different parts of your body affect your technique and your normal form. For the last 12 months now, I've struggled with a bad knee. Oh, this is a funny story. I've struggled with a bad knee, so it affected my technique, because when I was standing, I couldn't stand with my leg position normal, and there was a period of time where I couldn't shoot. Anyway, it's all good. Well, it was all good up until 4 days ago. When I was in Melbourne, I hurt my back travelling in the van that I travelled down in, 11.5 hours in the back of a volume
11.5 with the simulator.
With the simulator driving and Greg in the front. I was sitting in the back, stabbing myself in the eye with a pen, going, eh. Anyway, so I hurt me back on going back to one of the events, and man, I was in agony. I really seriously thought I'd done some damage. Anyway, Tyrone Digby, the gentleman that he is, offered to drive me to Melbourne Airport, so I flew home instead of going home in the van. Anyway, back to what I was saying. When my back was so sore, it's all good now. It was about a week or two, it was all good. I didn't realise how good my knee was until my back repaired, and I'm going, wow, my knee's great. How good's that? Then the next day I fell off a ladder. So it's back to where it was 3 months ago now. Anyway, but that's you're dealing with injuries, particularly at my age, but you just sort of work around it. But again, back to that, if you're having those sort of issues, don't push yourself too hard, because all you do is you develop frustration. You've got to look at every day you shoot on its merit. If you're sick, you got an injury, you don't expect to shoot as good. So don't let it play on your mind.
That's a big thing too. Because sometimes you let it get in your head and you think, oh, I'm a bad shooter now. But no, you're just working through an injury.
You just accept it. You gotta break down the form. Yeah, look, what I'm going to do, Samuel, I've been trying to do this for a long time, but with Jimmy's life, my life, Greg's life, man, it's hard to get together, but we've got to get something happening. Yeah, Samuel, I'm going to do a 3-stage video of the entire technique, from the stance, sighting tricks, even training tricks. I'm not going to get into the depth that Greg went into at Greg's level, because I want to try to aim to the newer guys. And you guys have been around for a while. You might identify something that you've forgotten or missed. This happens, so I do want to get onto that. We've got to get that happening. It's just so hard these days. Drop away.
Do that, because Gary's back. I mean, Greg's back into it.
Yeah.
So he'll be back in the next couple of days. So we'll try and organise him over here, and we'll get Gary to talk you through the process with Greg here.
And we've got to get a range, Jimmy. We've got to shoot somewhere. Because we want to get you guys shooting back, even if you're both shooting 50, and I can walk around and pick up things and do that sort of stuff. We need to be doing that. Yeah, who's compound wannabe? Fantastic roll to drop away, mate. Yeah, I'm a stickler for drop aways. I really am. Having said that, I do use a blade on Mix 3D bow, and it works brilliantly on that. So yeah, we've got to do some shooting. All right.
When's the next Peanut podcast?
Yeah.
We'll have to do that soon. We'll get on to Gary. We'll get on to Greg the next 2 days. Greg and Gary, my dyslexia is off the chain. I keep getting them mixed up. The 2 G's just playing with me brain.
What have we done?
Pills. No,
you.
I keep reversing the names. I keep calling you Greg and Gary.
He's the one that's this tall.
Yeah. It's these stupid pills I'm on. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one. That's 31 minutes. That's half an hour of power.
Excellent.
See you next time. Love yous. Hit the like button. Show some love for Gary. All right.
Send the questions.
That's it. Send some questions and pictures on Discord. Send some pictures on Discord.
Pictures. Yep.
All right. Love yous. See you tomorrow.